The Ghana Gas Senior Staff Association is rejecting a report from Parliament's Committee on Mines and Energy on a gas supply agreement between Ghana National Petroleum Corporation and GENSER Energy Ghana Limited. The deal involves provision of 50 million standard cubic feet of raw gas daily to GENSER Energy. The association is concerned that the deal's conditions could negatively impact consumers and potentially lead to some losses for Ghana. However, the Parliamentary Select Committee on Mines and Energy has investigated the claims of irregularities by the African Center for Energy Policy and Imani Center for Policy and Education and found no evidence of losses in the deal. Before we hear from the Ghana Gas Senior Staff Association, Samuel Kojo-Brace of our Energy Desk joins us with details of the findings by Parliament's Committee. But before that, let's listen to what he said.
Let me put on record that that committee's report does not reflect the views of the entire membership of the committee. Immediately, the chairman put out that report. As ranking member who represents the minority side, I issued a counter report. I issued a statement denouncing the report and stating that the report is inaccurate, contains factual inaccuracies, baseless assumptions, and does not reflect what the committee was supposed to do. And so let me put on record that the minority is not part of that committee's report in terms of its findings. We disagree in its entirety with the assumptions and, more importantly, with the conclusions. The committee was tasked to ensure that we deal with the critical issue of value for money. That has not been addressed. And so please don't associate us with that report. It does not reflect the value for money and that there are huge losses to the state. So this attempt to box us together is most unfortunate. And I've issued a formal statement to that effect. But more importantly, the Speaker has referred this very matter to the Committee of Mines and Energy and the Committee of Finance. We are yet to sit on this whole agreement. I think that will afford Parliament the opportunity to do a much more detailed job and come out with its findings in a fair and transparent manner.
Now, Ghana Senior Staff Association Richmond Alamo on why the deal should not be allowed in its current form. Good afternoon, Mr. Alamo. What are your reasons for asking that the deal should not be allowed in its current form?
Good afternoon to you, and good afternoon to your cherished listeners. Some time back, I think this issue was raised by our association. But let me state on record first that the Ghana Gas Senior Staff Association, we don't do politics. My comments are devoid of NDC, MPC, CPP, or any other political party. We are there for the ordinary Ghanaian and Ghanaians as a whole. So any statement of ours should be devoid of political sentiments and emotions. We want the best for Ghanaians. That's why we sent out this press release. So first and foremost, we've seen the Parliamentary Select Committee's report, and we are very disappointed in that report and want to express our sadness into that report that was sent out. Although they are saying it's confidential, I mean, it's in the public domain. I'm sure you have seen the report. First and foremost, that report stated, and if you look at our press, it states that Energy Commission was supposed to be interviewed, and they were interviewed. But when you look at that report, what's the name? The witness statement of Energy Commission on this GENSER issue was absent. Whether GENSER is mandated legally or by law to operate under the conditions that the Parliamentary Select Committee is referring to. The Senior Staff Association of Ghana Gas are not against private partnership or private investment. As an ordinary Ghanaian and as a Ghanaian citizen and concerned citizen, we all like foreign investments into our society or into our economy. But the bottom line of our issue is that your main transmission pipeline cannot be owned by a private entity. GENSER is owned 70% by foreigners. And you can imagine entrusting our main primary asset into the hands of a foreign agency. There are a lot of their consequences and huge disadvantages for we the Ghanaians, or we Ghanaians as a whole. There are more to this issue. If you permit me, I can lay them bare for we all to understand. Thank you.
Well, for the Sake of time, we'll have to leave it here and we'll come back to you in subsequent bulletins. But we have with me here in the studio Samuel Kojo-Brace of our Energy Desk and joins us with details of the findings of Parliament. Samuel, what are the key findings that Parliament made in this research?
Now, Parliament says that GNPC and the GENSER Energy Gas Transmission Agreement is going to save the country $1.462 billion. Because if you had borrowed to do the same project, we would have spent this amount. So
right.
That's the savings to us. They're saying that this deal will reduce transmission losses by $480 million once the Ameri plant is relocated to Kumasi and made operational. They're also saying that export of natural gas liquid using the Takoradi port would increase the port revenue from cargo fees, port dues, and other services. They're also saying that this deal is going to help us in reducing carbon dioxide emissions by 15 million tons per year. Because the facilities that GENSER is going to use will help us in flaring, reduce flaring of gases, and then we'll bring the gas onshore for processing and utilization. They're also saying that it will lead to the reduction of fuel by 75% because we're going to substitute compressed natural gas for diesel. They're also saying that GENSER Energy clients have extended the lives of their mines by 10 years since engaging GENSER due to reliable and quality power. They're also saying that restructuring of GENSER Energy pipeline network around future industries would enable these industries to develop quickly. And they're also saying over $400 million export revenue from this deal. So the processing of liquefied natural gas and export per year by GENSER. So this is the money that would accrue to the nation. And they're also saying over $980 million direct investment in Ghana with same amount of forex investors. So that's how much they expect GENSER to inject into the economy. And what about jobs? They are saying there's about some 250 direct and 950 indirect jobs to be created from the business of GENSER Energy Ghana Limited. So that's what the Energy Committee is telling us.
Right. Thank you so much, Kojo-Brace. So moving on, we have founding president of Imani Africa, Franklin Kojo, join us on this particular conversation. Mr. Franklin, the committee has responded to the allegations and indicates that the country will rather make profits from this GENSER deal. What is your response to this? Mr. Franklin, thank you for joining us. Yes, I hope you had my question.
Sorry, I didn't know I was on that quick. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. And my question is, the committee has responded to the allegations and indicates that the country rather makes profit from. What is your response?
Well, those assumptions are farcical if they are not outright nonsensical, by the way. I mean, if you look at this carefully, you are telling us, but by the way, you should know this is a one-sided committee report. I'm sure you are aware that the minority has disowned it. The Ghana Gas Company is also disowning it. And so there you are. There are already backers to our line of reasoning and thinking. But just one point, really, probably two. You know, when they claim that the potential transmission losses would be averted because we are going to save about $480 million by relocating America to Kumasi, by the way, I mean, what they fail to grasp, as we've argued quite competently, is that by investing the $70 million in the transmission infrastructure, we could have avoided these so-called losses of $480 million they claim to save the country. And then also, would have avoided the whopping payment of $1.5 billion in implied subsidy to a private company. You know, what is really annoying and obscene is that whereas the state entities like DRA and Co are purchasing gas at prices that are higher than, the approved prices of about over 6.0 MMBTU. This company, without any proper clarification of, the so-called net calculation, because they are using some part of their pipeline, is getting almost 60% subsidy, right? And they are then later selling to the mines and then making a huge huge cut. And to think that we would have saved ourselves if we just invested $70 million by rather than claim that we are going to save the country $480 million, that's quite fascinating. You know, my only worry really is that even though Atachia seems to be someone I totally respect, I'm only looking at the decisions he's made as a committee chairman and probably the one-sided committee for a number of years now. For the past 3 years, I mean, his committee was the same one that approved almost a $1.1 billion payment to ACRE. When in actual fact, it turns out that the ACRE deal was sold for just $1. Listeners should underline the word $1, not $10,000, $1. Otherwise, it's the same assumptions that Mr. President's committee are actually one-sided by committee, by the way. It's claiming it has saved the country. If we have to go by that same logic, we would have paid $1.1 billion for something we would have paid just $1 for. It was sold for $1, right? So I'm not too sure we should be taking lessons of cost savings from this one-sided committee, by the way. So look, this report should be shredded and not given any serious attention. It should go back to the committee, for the committee on the whole to deal with it properly. It's a report.
Well, Dr. Franklin, it seems...
Mr. Franklin.
Mr. Franklin, I beg your pardon. It seems we're at a crossroads here where one side is against, the other is for this deal. What then is the next step to ensuring that there is value for money in this deal for the nation?
Well, of course, what it means is that the committee's report as it is now does not exist in the minds of, should I say, reasonable people. It should go back to the committee and then a proper work is done. I mean, they can start by looking at the work is done, the two think tanks have done. I mean, I think you've probably served the country much more than the one-sided committee raised. So they can take the report and start working backwards to make sure that it pays the right price. It's just unfair, really. I mean, to think that they haven't done any proper calculations as to the so-called pipelines that they are using to sell gas to GENSER. While everybody else is buying gas at a particular price, you are getting it at almost 60% reduction, subsidized. And it's not as if free gas is sitting somewhere to be sold cheaply, right? Why do people treat government business as if it is a famous principle, the subject of the common? Because it belongs to nobody, then it means it has to go into disrepair. It cannot be the case. If these were private businesses, they wouldn't be run the way my friend's one-sided committee is thinking right now. It's unfair.
Well, you said they should go back to the committee for further probing, but in your capacity as Imani, are you taking any move, you know, in your capacity as an institution to do anything to better this deal, or better still, cancel it out?
Well, as a beautiful citizen, our work actually ends where we've shown light on the fact that there's not inaccuracies in this so-called. But indeed, we've shown that at least the committee pretended to be serious in the first place. Sorry, the one-sided committee should have pretended to be serious in the first place. That's all we can do. We are not going to go to any court for anybody. We are not making serious judgments. I don't think these are matters of economic value. These are not matters of constitutional law, which can be interpreted on the whims of anything. Nobody is going to go court and waste his time in court. So that's what we've done. We've shown light. We've at least brought education to the issue from many working in this space. And so that's what we will do. So it behoves on everybody listening, including your support self, media, to propagate exactly the reasons you've given. You just put side by side the reasons they've given and see whether there's any merit in their reasons, and then look at ours as well as the gas consortium. The Ghana gas people are complaining. You heard them. The minorities complain. They sold the report. Why? What else is suspected? So we are not going to go anywhere except to say that this is all we can do. Maybe the presidency would have to do what it is. You know, these days I don't call on the president to do anything. Anytime I call on him, he actually doesn't do it. So probably just sit somewhere and then hope that somebody's heart will change, really. Otherwise, let's just all ask for value for money, right?
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Franklin Cudjoe, President of Imani Africa.